Okay, Des Mitchell, the legend of Des Mitchell. Welcome to the RMN Podcast. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me.
Your name is synonymous with music, and certainly music coming from my perspective. I mean, I started DJing way back when, and your name just kept popping up all the time. You know, Des Mitchell, Des Mitchell. You know, I mean, and here we are speaking. So, I mean, tell me about your career. How did you get into music in the first place? What was the kind of the influences, and what made you kind of start in that process?
Right. Well, I was born in Birmingham, and my parents moved out to Dudley for the last 3 years of my schooling, and there I met a guy called Johnny Newey, rest in peace. And John had a great big DJ roadshow. Now, until that point, I'd only seen, DJs doing weddings with great big light shows. Yeah. Two piddly little speakers on the corner. Johnny didn't do that. He had a couple of little lights, but he had massive speakers all over the place. and he's banging out Earth, Wind and Fire and Aretha Franklin. And I just kind of went, oh, that's different. We found out we lived next to each other, or around the corner from each other, and I became his roadie. He had a guy called Mossa, a guy called Martin Lloydie, and Kenny. And so we had this team. I became one of the team. And he went around the Midlands doing these great big gigs, and I joined with him. And each time we went home in the van, you see, John would listen to the new Pink Floyd album, the new Supertramp album, the new Aretha album, the new Hall & Oates album, the new Earth, Wind and Fire album. So we got introduced to all various kinds of music. And eventually, it sticks in your head. So as my DJ career took off, John got me into it. I used what he taught me to take me into my DJ mode. He used to be a roadie for Emperor Roscoe. Now that's an old name. Emperor Roscoe, the Saturday morning show on Radio 1 Mallorca, where it was all soul, Atlantic Records, Arthur Connolly, Sweet Soul Music, stuff like that. So John had this amazing knowledge of music, and I learned all of that from him, and I took it into my DJ world, and that got me into the DJing. From there I went and joined a couple of the nightclubs in the Birmingham area, and from there I got asked to join BBC Pebble Mill, what used to be in Birmingham, and there was Radio WM in there, originally Radio Birmingham, and I started doing a soul show on a Sunday afternoon, which was funk, soul and reggae, and I got it to funk and soul. Took that for 4 years, and then I went to Tenerife for a holiday. Stayed there for 4 years, went off to Canada, stayed up there for the winter, 6 months DJing, and that's when BCM came in for me in 1989. And from there, my world changed.
Your world changed. And I mean, let's go back a bit, because you also, I mean, the style of Des Mitchell, when you're doing a DJ set, and I know that you had multiple styles and multiple parts, but what kind of influenced you the most then? I mean, what was the thing that kind of, everybody's got this hook in music, whether it's, I'm a funk guy. I mean, really, even though I've played hard house and hard tech house and all different kinds of styles through the years, my real passion, if you come into my car and sit in my car, you're going to hear Sly and the Family Stone, you're going to hear funk music, because that's what I like, that's what I love, and I'm not talented enough to be able to go and play that kind of stuff or whatever, but I've certainly been lucky enough to work with a few musicians that are that talented, and it's incredible. But that's my real. If you gave me the choice, go and do that set, that would be my set. But I mean, what about you? What was the hook for you?
For me, it was soul. I mean, my mother used to have me dancing with her to Chubby Checker and stuff like that, and Motown records back in the day as a kid. Only on a Sunday though. Sunday, the front room would be open and the stereo would come on and Mum would play records and I would dance with my mum. And so that was that. my greatest love still now is old soul, just like you say. Here in the Maldives, we have a bar, a chill area. It's called the Chill Bar, and that's where I play Barry White, Chaka Khan, Aretha, Fat Larry's band, Marvin Gaye, Luther Vandross. I play all of that here. Whereas in Mallorca, I only get the chance to play it every now and then. Here, I play it every night, well, 6 nights a week. And it's beautiful. So, yeah, soul is still my thing. What's made my living is being, I would say, a good dance club DJ. By that, I mean, I do play stuff that I like, but I also like to play stuff that I think they would like and that gets them going.
See, the thing is, you're being very modest there. A good club dance DJ. You went into the DMC championships and won it, Des. I mean, you won it, man. Come on.
Okay. Yes. I won. I did do very well in DMC.
Works over in Tenerife, a place called Bobby's. When he's in the West End, he also works at the Lacey's. He's originally from Birmingham. This week has to go for Mr. Dennis Mitchell.
I entered at Newcastle upon Tyne was a club called Walkers. The Walker family still have a club up there apparently, and I was kind of pushed into it the week before the competition. John Saunderson and my younger brother, may he rest in peace, they came to me and said, right, we've entered you into the competition. You're in at Newcastle next week, purely because we were all in Birmingham watching Chad Jackson. So I go to Newcastle. Chad had just won at Birmingham, and I went and won the North East, actually. So I won by playing Harlequin 4, Set It Off, and scratching Cool in the Gang, Get Down on It, over the top of that. So, and people went nuts, and people started dancing, and the judges were like, people aren't supposed to be dancing, they're supposed to be watching the competition, but everyone was dancing, so it's fantastic.
What was your big break then? I mean, your first big break to say, I'm going to become a pro here. This is something that, has went from being a dream, a hobby, to this is it. Oh. This is my...
Right. Well, after BBC Radio, which was fantastic, I did 4 good years for them. Really had a good time. I had put a lot of time and effort into that, and I didn't really look for anything else. I was dedicated to it, and it was fantastic. Meanwhile, I'd done the DMC. That had taken off, so I got involved with those boys, Tony Prince, John Saunderson, Dan Prince, which again was fantastic. I'd gone to Tenerife for this holiday for a break to get away from it. I needed to declutter my head. And there a friend of mine, Kevin, had got a bar in Las Americas, Martin's bar, and he was playing my cassettes in the bar, and everybody was going, "Who's this guy? We want to dance to this guy. We need him." So when I went over for my holiday, I stayed at Kevin's, and he said, "Right, you're going to get asked some questions by some people," and I really did. There was a guy called, well, I won't say his name, but he challenged me on my first night. He actually said on the microphone, "There's a DJ that's on the island that's come to take my crown," and I just happened to be in the bar with him, having a drink, minding my own business, and that's how he ended up throwing down a challenge, and I went and took the challenge, and I said, "Okay, I'll do a bit." So I did a bit of scratching and cutting, and finished off with a little bit of mic patter, and that was that. I got offered quite a lot of work, actually.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, for me now, I mean, the whole idea of the podcast, the whole idea of what I'm doing now. I've been a music producer now for coming up for over 30 years, and I've had the opportunity to work with so many great names and people through the years, and but the whole idea of the podcast is that the kids or the music students that are coming through now can look at these podcasts and go, well, I can pick up little tips from this one and that one. They can't pick up better tips from you when it comes to DJing. But this is the thing for me. I mean, I DJ'd for many, many years, and you learn to mix, you learn to, in my day it was Technics 1210s, and that's what you mixed with, and there was no sync button, and there was no there was none of this. But the thing about it is, maybe you would agree with this, is that UK DJs in general, I'm not saying them all, or no names in particular, have learned a part of DJing. But when you go to the States and you meet some of the great guys, they really know their craft. They really know their craft, as in, like yourself, it's the scratching, the chopping, the cutting, the all the little
you take all of that.
Yeah.
You take all of that, and you adapt to it. You adapt it to today. I've learned everything that's gone with it. As you said, the Technics 1210s. I used to fall out of bed onto my turntables and do an hour set, before I went to work. Sometimes I would just keep 2 records and just keep playing with those 2 records backwards and forth. And it's funny you mentioned turntables, because we had a nightclub that opened up in Hell's Owen near Birmingham, great big place called Liberties. And I was asked to go there and audition. And I went there and I did a half-hour set. And they actually didn't give me the job. And they said I was too advanced for the club because I kept the music going continually. And I thought, but this is the future. This is what these turntables are for. This is what you can do with them.
Yeah.
They didn't want that. They wanted a track, talk.
Yeah, but see, this is what I mean. Is this whole thing of, if I go to, I mean, I've been on bills with DJs, and their heads down, they're looking at the mix the whole time. They never connect with the audience. They just play record after record after record. Yes. And you're thinking, okay, they're pretty good at mixing. You can hear that. And they're trying to take you on this journey, and I get that as well. But there's no entertainment for me. It's just like, well, yeah, you can mix, and that's as far. Des Mitchell entertains.
Yes.
And for me, that this is why I like speaking to guys like yourself, is because it's that whole thing. If you know the music well enough and you're comfortable with it, you'll attempt that cut mix, you'll attempt that scratch, you'll attempt that moment of madness where to a normal DJs, to everybody else, that's crazy. I mean, how could you possibly take that chance in front of a crowd? You might blow it, you know what I mean? And yet, but that's the comfortable part of what you do, and so I'm amazed at how, because other DJs of your generation, my generation as well, that were coming through, they didn't put that much time into it, Des. I mean, so what was it for you that really? I mean, this is like Ronaldo at football. You know, he took football to another level, another professional level, where it was the dedication of, you know, the diet and the fitness and everything else. And I think that's a bit like yourself with the DJing.
You just used the word there, dedication, and that is definitely a big part of it. You've got to love it. If I teach somebody now, and I still get asked by people to teach them, I teach them every aspect of it. I don't just teach them to mix. I teach them to say, hello, good evening, my name is, because that's important to me, because that way you're connecting with your crowd, with your audience. Yes, you can do all the mixing you like. There's times when you don't need to say a word. You know, you can walk to a nightclub and the place is already on the ceiling, which is fine. But if it isn't, I like to make sure that when I've left, they go, he was good.